So if you clicked on this video, hopefully you know what you're getting into. I did put caution in the thumbnail so that you would at least be warned. Let's talk about some unpopular opinions, especially when it comes to retirement. I just got done doing my walk today. I aim to do approximately 8 to 10,000 steps of intentional walking every day, as in go out and walk on purpose. Okay, and I'm not trying to oversimplify it, make it sound stupid, but people go, well, I do 5,000 steps a day already. You probably don't, or you may during your standard activity, but guess what? Your body's already adjusted to that. So if you want to make an impact, you need to do intentional steps, okay? Now, I bring this up because this is my first unpopular opinion. You need to work on your health now. Whether you're retired or not, if you plan to and plan to have a good life in retirement, you need to be healthy. You want to save money while you're retired on your healthcare costs? Get healthy today. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Get started with this right away, because the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be. And going into your retirement ages, it's almost too late to reverse the 65 years of damage, okay? You need to do that right away. Anyway, next thing. I talked about it a little bit yesterday's video anyway, about how the markets have responded. I read a story this week that talked about a guy who retired after 30 some years of working. He never made more than $50,000 in a year, and he never put his money in 401k stock market type stuff. He put all of his money into higher yield type mutual funds, savings, CDs, those kinds of things, and he only averaged like 4.5% over the years. So putting 10% away on for 37 years, let's just say, at 4.5% average return, he still retired with $2 million. So the stock market is not the only way to make money and to make your money work. I am by no means an expert in this field as far as how to make money in the stock market. All I know is what Warren Buffett said and has said for years, is that nobody can outwit the S&P. It's one of the safest investments you're ever going to make. How can you possibly try to pick one or two stocks or situations and hope that they pan out and that you do well on, versus putting your money in a fund that covers the top 500 companies that everybody consumes over and over again and uses, which is why they're a great investment in general, because you can average between all 500. So if some industries are down, other industries are up, and they're all in the same group. And if you didn't know this about Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger and their hedge fund, the way that they made money is because they bought things that people consumed every day. That's where they made their money. It's so simple too. And if you think about it, it'd be great if all you had to do was go in and buy Procter and Gamble, and you would make a ton of money. And you probably would if you just bought Procter and Gamble, because of course all they make is consumables. Stuff that people buy over and over and over again as a necessity product. So they bought a candy, they invested in Pepsi, or Diet Coke, whichever one it was that he loved. They invested in McDonald's because he loved McDonald's and people love McDonald's. They invested specifically in companies that people consumed over and over again, no matter what the climate and what the economic situation was. So, it'd be like saying if you could only invest in milk, you'd make a fortune. So think about that a little bit. And that's why I say I'm not an expert. Everything I've learned from somebody else that did a whole lot better than I did. All I'm trying to do is get by and move up and make things better. Number 3, unpopular opinion. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And this can be used in so many different ways, but particularly as you work your way into building a retirement fund at all, any kind of a retirement life later. I don't care where you're at now financially. If you have 5 years to go before you're going to retire, you have time to do something. Plan now and then go through and execute the plan. It's as simple, really, as starting with, that 5 or 10% and just doing it religiously every day or every week or every year, paycheck wise, however you figure that out, and putting it in there and forgetting about it. And again, we just talked about, you don't have to be a stock market whiz to make your money grow. There's lots of ways to make that happen. But if you're not planning on your budget, your location, your expenses, your income, all those things need to be accounted for before you retire. And you can start 30 years out and say, I want to have 5 million so I can do whatever I want. Or you can start 5 years out and say, I need 200,000 so that at least I know I can cover my bases. Because how well your retirement goes is based more on your budget versus your expenses, right? What you make in income versus what you spend. And if you can control those things, you can live on just about any budget. We talked about this once before because $1.5 million, bugs, $1.5 million saved in West Virginia will last you 54 years if you just use the cost of living index that they have. That's like $24,000 or $25,000 a year. It will last you 54 years. Do you really think you need $1.5 million? Because you can control how long that money lasts based on the location and your expenses and those types of things. And there's lots of ways to save money that will get you in a position where no matter what you have, you can make it work if you can control your expenses. All right, so enough about that. I talk a lot about budget and monetary stuff because for me that's been it's been a pain point in my life. I've struggled with debt years ago. Came out from my open heart surgery, deep in debt in credit card debt because I was paying too much for other things. We didn't make enough on my SNA disability insurance money to cover all of our bills. So we covered all the things we had to with cash, and we used credit cards to pay for the things we couldn't. And that was pretty much how we made it work. But at the end of that, I had a lot of debt to go with it. So that's one of the reasons it's kind of a passion point for me, because it's so easy to avoid some of these issues. And if I'd have been better with money before those 20 years, maybe we wouldn't have gotten into that mess. But these are the unforeseen circumstances that pop up in your life that you can't control. I got lucky that they found my upper aortic aneurysm because I had no symptoms at all. I went to the doctor because I thought I was going to get laid off with a closure at the place I work, and I was definitely on the chopping block. And my doctor saved my life because she thought that she heard something in my heart and requested further testing. I had all that stuff done before I got laid off, which is why I was at the doctor. I wanted to make sure I didn't need anything done before I got laid off in case I did and lost insurance. And that's what saved my life. I didn't have a heart condition. I do now because I have congestive heart failure, but that's, in retrospect, I didn't at the time that this happened. It was an aneurysm. So anyway, moving on from there. Some of these things you can't plan for. So plan for what you can, execute your plan, and you can make your retirement work and be happy. My last and final unpopular opinion, probably, I think it's going to be unpopular with a lot of people. It's not about the money. It really isn't about money, and it shouldn't be about money. In my opinion, what it should be about is freedom. You are planning your life to have freedom when that 9-to-5 drag is over. And planning for that life doesn't necessarily cost money. It just costs planning. And you need to know what you're going to do every day so that you don't sit on the couch and get fat and lazy. You need to know where you're going to live, what your expenses are going to be, and make sure that your income covers those expenses. Anything beyond that is freedom. Everything beyond that is freedom. So if you have expenses that are well within your budget, you've bought your freedom, and that's what you need to enjoy. So it's not about having $1 million in the bank if you spend $100,000 a month, right? I know that's the extreme, but that's the point. How much you have in the bank is irrelevant to the freedom you can have. And if you live within your expenses and within your budget and within your income, you have freedom. And that's what I'm retiring for, is to have freedom. Will I work? Sure. I like to stay busy. I'm not going to say I like to work. None of us like to work unless you have a great career doing something fabulous. And God save you, because you're more fortunate than most of us. I like to go to work and do my job. I like to stay busy. I like to be productive, and I will find something to do to be productive when I'm retired. But when I retire from this job and move south permanent, it is to have freedom. The freedom to not have to get up and be at work for a 12-hour shift at 3:15. The freedom to not have to be there at 4:45 for 10 hours. The freedom to get up and take a walk like this, like every day is a Sunday morning where it's beautiful out and I can go for a walk. That's what freedom gives you. And that can't be bought. It can only be planned for and then executed on the plan. That's my theory. Agree or disagree. If you're getting anything out of this, I appreciate if you subscribe if you're new, and give me a thumbs up if you like the video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.